Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
What is up? What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Thursday, October 31st. Happy Halloween, everybody. And this is Blinkers Off. Dude, it's Breeders' Cup, 1 day away. The Breeders' Cup kicks off tomorrow. What is up?
Yeah, it's man, I am pumped for it. I just can't wait for this one. I think it's going to be a special Breeders' Cup, and it just seems like we've really covered it well leading up to this, and now just the last step is finishing up the show and then hoping our picks do well. But I'm happy it's almost here. I've got a lot of anticipation for a lot of the races.
Yeah, it's it definitely is. It's kind of has that feeling at this point where it's just like, all right, I've done the work, I've put in the time, now it's just time to see if they run, and that's the name of the game. We'll find out if your opinion, it's all about your opinions and if they come in, but it certainly, the hype is there, it's delivering in that aspect as well.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, they're going to run how they're going to run. You can't control that as much, but I always love the process of handicapping for the Breeders' Cup. I always find it a lot of fun. Any big race day, when you get the past performances, it's fun to kind of, once you first get them, to go through them. But this is always a special one because of all the international races that you end up having to watch when you're doing your replay work. And I always love the process. It's a time-consuming one and a long one, but it's always fun. You always find some horses that, maybe you've just heard about, maybe you don't never watch them, but you've heard their name, and then you finally get to watch them, and it's like, oh man, now I'm really excited to see a few of them.
Well, what's great about it is it's the Breeders' Cup, and so it's like, I mean, not all of them do, but a lot of them that are entered have chances to win.
Yeah.
Like we've seen it all the time, and other than those select races that is just an absolute monster, whatever that you just, but for the most part, when you find, like you say, you find a horse, and the odds are just so different in these types of races in the Breeders' Cup. So it's like, there's really nothing off limits. If you like a horse that's 8-1, is 15-1, there's like, it's about the same as picking a 3-1 horse in a lot of days, just because it's like they're just so good. Everyone in the field is so good. There's a lot of unknowns in that aspect because you're all kind of meeting up for the first time in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the internationals. And so it just provides a lot of opportunity to take those those chances on horses that maybe you normally wouldn't do.
Yeah, and that's just it. You get those prices that you wouldn't normally get on horses. I think it was Chili Flag we were talking about on, I don't know if that was pre-entry day or entry day. I think it was entry day. And they're like, wow, this horse is 20-1. And hell, he's 3-1 usually, or, when he's running. So in these other races. So yeah, you do get those prices. And like I said, this year especially, it's like, yeah, I don't really want to play the Europe horse. He might be 8-5. Well, there's another one from Europe that only finished second by a length, and he's 12-1. So you've got the depth there as well. So you got to just do the prep work, and then, like I said, hope for a little bit of luck once they break from the gate. Because, like you said, most of the races you could be right and still be wrong. It's like, well, I thought that horse would run huge, but one other one was just better that day.
Yeah, for sure. And I've said it, I think, every time we've been on air for the Breeders' Cup stuff, and I'll keep saying it. Just remember, like, it's such a fine line of being right and wrong when it comes to the Breeders' Cup. And you got to go into this with the plan. That's, we have the betting Bible that is available now, and it's a kind of a good example of, okay, this is the plan. This is how much I'm budgeting for each race. This is the bet, and hey, either wins or it doesn't. But guess what? Unless it's the last race of the day, there's another one after that, and there's another one after that one. And so you just have to go into it with that kind of mindset of, hey, this one's not going to win. This one may not win, but I've got multiple plays. And I think that's such a hard, because like you said, it could be such a frustrating, it's so frustrating, right? The Breeders' Cup is in a lot of ways, because you can be like, I knew that horse, I knew I could beat that horse, but my horse didn't run as good as, or especially those turf races where they come all finish at the same, and it's just like, man, like, it's just a crapshoot at who kind of finishes ahead of who, and And so, or like maybe you like, I love this Japanese horse. It's the other Japanese horse that wins, or whatever. And so you just have to play the long game, in these Breeders' Cup races.
Yeah, I think last year was a perfect example. Friday, we had some horses run okay, but not win, and then we did get the last one, but we're down a little bit, and it's like that's all right. We'll come back because there's more opportunities, and you only got to hit one or two, and you're good, right? And so the next day, that's what happened to start it, and everything was fine. So, it definitely. You have to go into, and John said it, don't go crazy on the first race. Realize that there's 14 of them, and your strong opinions, make sure that they're your strongest plays and so on and so forth. So just be disciplined, be smart. That's what you got to do. And again, you're going to have some bad beats, and then you're going to have some good wins as well.
Yeah, it's just like we said when we had him on. If you guys haven't listened to the John White Blinkers Off, make sure you check that out. We did that a couple days ago. Fantastic interview with the legend John White, which we'll have picks in this year's betting Bible as well. But one of his strongest plays, I won't give it away, but you can watch the episode. But it was earlier in the card, and it's like, well, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's like, it's not, you don't want to like save all your bullets for the last, but maybe you don't like the last couple of races as much. And so don't shy away from, if my best opinion is the first Breeders' Cup race, well, that's just the way it fell, So, and also in that same regard, don't put all your eggs into it. Make sure you have the budget lined out where, hey, if that big play doesn't, and we've made that mistake ourselves, right? Where it's like, we play a heavy play early in the day and it doesn't come in, and then you're like, shit, you played it too heavy, and now you're kind of playing catch up, and instead of kind of playing it out the rest of the day.
I remember when Golden Pal was in the juvenile the juvenile turf sprint, and it was the first race of the Breeders' Cup, and I think Samich was in the BCBC. He went all in on him. We had a massive wager on him, and we were all 1 minute to post kind of looked at each other like, well, here's this 2-year-old turf sprinter, and the Breeders' Cup kind of relies on it, and it's the first race on Friday. Yeah. There's 13 more to go. And thankfully, he won, and we all kind of just smiled, and we're like, well, we're playing with house money for the next 2 days, because that was, but, like I said, sometimes it's how it falls, and you just got to just bite the bullet. And if he would have lost, it would have been an uphill battle the rest of the weekend. So, but that's like I said, you just got to play the hand you're dealt.
But imagine, obviously that was all of our kind of strongest opinion of the 2 days. And imagine being like, well, it is the first race, so I better just, back off a little bit. And then you'd be kicking yourself if it's the strongest play, it's the strongest play.
Yep.
Regardless of where it is. All right, guys. So throughout this show, we're going to do we're going to look at the two main ones, the Breeders' Cup Classic it's $7 million Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday, and then the $2 million Breeders' Cup Juvenile on Friday. But we're going to do two more, and we're going to let you guys decide which ones those are. So throughout the episode, while you're in the chat, just hit us some comments, and some of the races we see the most of, we will cover after we do the Juvenile and the Classic. So if there's a particular race, Breeders' Cup race on those 2 days, whether it be Friday or Saturday, you want us to cover on Blinkers Off here, hit that up in the chat below, and we'll try to cover that. We'll see the two that we cover, or see the two that we see the most, we'll cover. But let's get into it, Halterman. Classic up first, Juvenile up next. Let's go. All right. I feel like we're at a fine line here. Like it's okay now, but like it's like we need to get these races ran, because like how long can we talk about these races before you kind of talk in circles a little bit,
Yeah, Magic texted me that yesterday afternoon or evening, I can't remember, and said, I'm ready for it now. He's like, the picks are in, the Bible's out. It's like, it's time to run. I am way anxious to actually run this race. And I said, I totally agree. It gets any big event the Thursday, before our kind of major work is done. And you do kind of sit around going, God, I wish they'd just run this thing now.
I know there is a such thing as overthinking a race. And the longer you look at it, it's like, well, I could make a case for, whoever, Arthur's Ride. Maybe Sierra Leone can get it done. I talk to enough people. It's like, no, just put the blinders on. Speaking of Kevin, I'm not wearing them today. So that I had to look professional for John, but today it's just like, whatever, it's just Halterman. So
we're just getting through.
I'm just trying
got to get through before Halloween.
I'm just trying to survive over here, guys.
That's right.
Been struck with the neurovirus over here, and then I got freaking Halloween to do tonight, and so just trying to get through the day, guys.
Yep.
Not like you, Halterman. You're just gonna tuck her in tonight, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna just go down to the basement and turn off all the lights and just hang out. Can't wait.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. That's something else, Kevin, I have every week. So it's a different kind of sickness. Yeah, well, it's true. These kids are sick every other week, at least.
Yep.
Like they are they go to school and they pick up every possible thing. All right. Let's kick things off, guys. Saturday at Del Mar, race number 8. That's right. It's not the last race. Race number 8, the Longines Breeders Cup Classic Grade 1, $7 million race. Going a mile and a quarter for the 3-year-olds and up. And we have a doozy on our hands here. 14 horses, maxed out field, 3-1 on Fierceness, 5-2 on City of Troy. Those are your clear top 2 choices. Forever Young looming there in the 1 hole. You've got 8-1 on Next all the way on the outside. And after that, everyone else is double digits and up. Halterman, we've talked about this countless times, off air, on air. What more do you need to say about this race?
Yeah, it's you said it. It is one of the best races we've had of this, of a Breeders' Cup Classic. I think it's tremendous, and I think as far as overall, like the depth of the field, it's one of the better ones ever. Like we kind of talked with John White, there might be a crazy superstar in here as well. That could be City of Troy, could be Forever Young, and I think any way you go in here, you're kind of picking your poison a little bit. They're all pretty top end. Those top horses on the morning line here, they're all pretty good. But at the same time, they all kind of have their flaws. Forever Young, obviously just the one race in the United States, and we'll talk about the trip and everything that happened, but he did lose. Only ran once since the Derby. City of Troy, obviously the big one. He hasn't been on the dirt. Fierceness, he has been a little bit inconsistent, obviously. And then Next, the other one that's below double digits, he hasn't faced anybody that could really run, So if you're going to go one of those 4 options, you are having to kind of a quote unquote ignore a little problem that they might have.
Yeah, there's certainly not anyone. And that's what makes this race so fascinating from so many angles, is that everyone in the race has a certain, whether it be kind of a positive, like interesting aspect about them, and also the kind of question mark side to them as well. What are they? What can they do? What happens if this happens? So even like City of Troy is the glaring one, right? And he's clearly, I have no problem with him being the favorite of the race, and he probably will be go off the favorite of the race. Yeah, but he's also never ran on dirt, and that's just a huge glaring aspect to this. And Fierceness, we don't need to hammer that out. We know what he is and what the kind of the quirks that come with him. And so, yeah, they're the 2 clear horses. And by the way, like I said it with City of Troy, I'll say it again. Like, they deserve to be those 2 choices. Like, I'm not in no way meaning like they don't, but they're just, you have to kind of take that with, if you're going to play Fierceness at 3-1 or 5-2, or whatever he goes off at, you kind of have to know that, or expect that, hey, he may not run that race.
Yeah, it's definitely, if you're going to take Fierceness or City of Troy, you absolutely go into it knowing I might look like a fool. I may never feel like I have a chance down the stretch, because if Fierceness runs one of his clunkers, then that's over. And if City of Troy just hates the track, that's over, right? Yeah. Like you're never really going to get a chance with them. I'll take the City of Troy thing first. And I think after listening to John and watching City of Troy and his quote unquote practice race and watching his other races, I think he's going to be okay on the dirt. I don't know that he will absolutely love it, but I don't think it's going to be one of these situations where he gets out of the gate and he can't stand up type of thing, which you see sometimes, right? I think he's going to get it. And it's just, to me, my biggest question mark with him, when they turn for home, will he have that same kind of explosion on the dirt versus the turf?
Yeah.
I feel like 3/4 of this race, you're going to feel like he's handling it. And then it's just going to be, can he quicken up as quite as sharp? That's my biggest question. Or will he quicken up, but not quite as fast? And he'll kind of maybe struggle a little bit. That's where I think he's vulnerable. But, you've kind of seen him spin around there at Del Mar, and he seems pretty happy. So I'm a little more nervous about Fierceness for some reason than I am City of Troy, because in the biggest of the big races, like the Kentucky Derby, when he didn't show, and I'm talking about the size of the field, he set a perfect trip and he just didn't do it. Maybe all these horses in here, they're all pretty good, and it gets a little too competitive for him,
Yeah.
something like that happens with him. And I also think with Fierceness, little things can throw him off. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I got bumped a little bit in the first turn, so I'm not going to run today type of stuff. He scares me a little more than City of Troy, as far as that horse that might just kind of, it's boom or bust, basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fair, really, because that's been Fierceness kind of MO, that anything that kind of discourages him, it's over. Now, maybe he's moved past that, because those last two, he's hit 2 in a row there that he's looked pretty damn good. But I'm nervous, and we talked about it on Blinkers Off with John, and the one thing that I think is, I do think it's something, and that is the fact that, like, yes, Fierceness has rattled off 2 in a row wins, which was something he hadn't done yet. But the Jim Dandy was not a particular. I mean, yeah, he got a good number for it, but it wasn't like it's always been when he's had a high, like the high speed figure, the next race was the bounce, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the 103 he got in the Jim Dandy was not near as high. And so he got a 111 in the Travers. We saw what Torpedo Anna did in her next race after that one, which obviously more time between races here for Fierceness, no doubt about it. But it does give me more kind of thought about him,
Mm-hmm.
just so, yeah, I would, if they're pretty close to the same price, which I imagine they will be, I definitely am leaning more City of Troy. I am good, because there's almost all this talk about pace and who's going to be on the lead and who's going, who's not going, and and whatever, it could be just trainer talk or what, but Aiden is like very adamant, like we're going, like we're sending him, and it's probably not the worst idea, because it's like, how do you get a horse that is trying dirt for the first time to do well? Well, you just send them, right? You don't mess with having to tuck in behind horses and get traffic issues and the whole thing. Now, having said that, do you think that's a great idea, because there is other pace in the race, and two, the issue, and John talked a lot about it, which was great, is, can he get out of the gate? Because if he can't get out of the gate, then that's all a mute point anyways. If he can get out of the gate and goes to the lead, like, do you think that's the best strategy?
100%. Send him. You don't have to be on the lead, but get him out, get him up there in the top 4 or 5 horses. Get him, if he's not on the lead, get him within a couple links. You have to do that. I think that's just how you win at Del Mar overall, and also how the best way for him to win is what they just laid out. Listen, Aiden O'Brien, this is a guy that has had, and John talked about it as well, has had horses that have had trouble with the gate, and so they got a gate from the United States and put it over there so they could practice on it, practice getting out of it, stuff like that. A horse, that a lot of times European running styles aren't really to go to the front. They kind of want to sit mid-pack or off of it and make a big run. That's not how you win dirt races in the United States. So they're making the adjustments. They're doing the right things. And I agree with him. I think you send him. So, and again, you don't send him on a suicide mission. You get his ass out of the gate and you get him clear of most of the field. Now, that doesn't mean go 22 with 3 other horses. That means if horses are going 22 up front, just make sure he's a couple links off of them, but clear of the other ones. And I think that's the trip that, if I was betting him, that's the trip I would want.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's the you don't want to have a situation where you're like, okay, now he has to overcome trying dirt, but he also has to overcome being in 8th place and wide on the first turn or whatever,
Yeah.
like you want to give him the easiest opportunity to get gate to wire and have the least amount of excuses after the race being like, hey, well, that's unfortunate if you did this or that. Maybe that would have turned out differently. So yeah. And then listen, like there is pace, but he's also the favorite of the race, right? And I think we've established that fierceness, his best effort is going to be from a little bit off of it. And I think Arthur's Ride is the clear horse out of anybody that is going to try to get to the lead. He's probably another horse, honestly, that is like, hey, if we're going to do this, it's going to be going gate to wire. And so really, you just have to maybe the situation is with City of Troy, you Ryan Moore just tracks Alvarado on Arthur's Ride.
Well, I think that would be a good strategy for him and for fierceness. I think that's what I would do. I think Arthur's Ride, they need to just send him, and then whatever happens. But with if anybody else tries to go, but City of Troy and fierceness probably just want to sit right off of that. We've seen what fierceness wants. Fierceness wants to sit outside, get away from everybody. Doesn't have to be on the lead. Just get him away from the other horses. So to me, I don't think he's faster than Arthur's Ride. So I think he sits off of him, and then City of Troy, I would want to be fairly close to that. So, I think one thing we got to remember, just because there's a lot of pace on paper, that doesn't always work out. I think the one horse that, as long as he breaks well, which that goes for any of them, the one horse that I think absolutely has to go is Arthur's Ride. The rest of them, I don't think absolutely have to go. So he might get loose. I could see it. I could see a world where Arthur's Ride might be a length ahead of everybody.
Yeah. Well, another horse that on paper wants to go, but we'll see, where drawing the 14 hole, what happens with him. And that's next. You got a really bad draw with that, with his running style. And another situation of, he's been on dirt before, but he's also stepping up in class dramatically. And so now drawing the 14 hole, stepping up in class, he wants to go. He's rattled off like 7 straight. I think maybe like 9 of 10 triple digit buyers his last 10 races. Like the dude's running insane. But how will that post position for him dictate where he goes? I mean, do you think they're in a situation like, hey, no matter what, you got to break, you got to try to get try to get to the lead as much as you can, because you don't want to be hung out wide?
He's a tweener, and it's going to be tough. He's not. I don't think Next is fast enough early to get over if he goes. I think he's still going to get hung a little bit wide. Now, look, maybe he gets wide into the first turn, saves ground second turn. I mean, that could happen. I don't think it's totally out of the question. Also, you got to remember that is a long run into that first turn, so he might be able to maneuver. But I do think he's kind of on an island a little bit, and they're going to have to make a decision pretty quick, because you don't want to just send him. I don't think he's that type of horse where you just send him as hard as you can. I think you got to get him comfortable. I project he's going to sit about mid-pack with this draw. Like I said, I bet they can navigate it to where he's not going to lose a ton of ground on that first turn. But I don't know that he's fast enough to get up there with those top 3 or 4 horses.
It's a very interesting race from a pace standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
It really is, because there's a lot of horses. Like you look at a horse like Highland Falls, who last out you could say, hey, this horse is going to go to the lead for sure. Like that, drawing the 2 hole, probably want to go. But then you've seen races in his past where he sits off of it just fine and looks great doing that as well. So he's a little more versatile, and there's plenty of horses in here that you could see kind of being up close, and you could also see kind of coming off a little bit. And so it certainly makes, like you said, it's like you can't always just assume that this is how the pace is going to set up.
No, you can't. And Highland Falls is the other one that I think, drawn inside, everybody thinks he's got to go. He probably does. I don't think he necessarily has to be in the lead, but I do think he's the next likely one to get the lead. And then after that, they fall how they fall. But the way he's been running lately, you're going to want him towards the front. And so, on paper, you look at it and go, well, Highland Falls, Arthur's Ride kind of maybe speeding it up, going a little bit too fast. And then you got 3 or 4 behind him just waiting. But what happens if Highland Falls misses the break? Then all of a sudden Arthur's Ride's alone. What happens? Arthur Ride misses the break. All of a sudden Highland Falls is alone. And then you got a new thing. You got a new pace situation and everything changes. So riders are really important. They're going to have to kind of work it out. And, riders are really going to be important when you got City of Troy running on dirt for the first time, Forever Young back in the United States for the first time in a while. And fierceness. So you got to ride like a child almost. You got to handle with kid gloves. You know what I mean? So it could get a little weird for sure.
All right. So who's a horse that, maybe you could see winning, but definitely you like hitting the board that's, double digits?
Well, the popular answer is Sierra Leone. At double digits, I think, he's one that can hit the board. I feel like he's gotten better throughout the summer, even though he still hasn't won. He's running better races. I just feel like he is the one that can hit the board at a big price. I text you this last night. I was talking to my dad about this earlier today on our show. He's burned so much money with people relying on him to win and him not doing it. I just have this feeling now everybody's relying on him to get second or third. I could see him getting fourth or fifth and getting beat out of length, by that. He just kind of has that feel to me. But the flip side of it, this horse can really close. So I do think he can get there and get up for third, I should say.
Yeah, actually, Shoddy got me. You beat me to it, Shoddy. That Ushba is mine. Another 12-1 shot. Just I told you yesterday. I was like, Ushba is the Japanese Sierra Leone. He just kind of runs his race. He's never quite good enough. But last year's Breeders' Cup Classic faded a little bit there to finish fifth. But listen, this is a horse that overseas has either won or got second, and his last 10 races, right? And that's including Dubai World Cup, including the Saudi Cup. Dubai World Cup he won 2 years ago. This is a horse that's just so automatic overseas. 7 for 9 at this distance as well. So I think he's a horse for me that is going to be probably not bet as hard as some of these other ones that are going to have he's going to have as good a chance as anyone to close. Now, is he good enough to win? I'd be pretty surprised if he won the race. Let's put it that way. But I would use him underneath big time.
Yeah, I think that's a very good candidate and literally a world-class horse, been everywhere. So makes total sense. He's not going to be overwhelmed or anything like that. He's used to running in big races. So I think that's a good pick as well.
All right. So let's look at kind of hone in on the top plays here. We have, across the board, multiple angles, multiple thoughts. Who did you ultimately decide on and why?
Yeah, look, I don't. It's a weird situation where I love a lot of horses in this race, but I hate that they're all against each other because it was very difficult for me to pick one. Last year I went into this race and I thought to myself, boy, this is a challenge. But after about 5 minutes, I said, oh no, this is White Barrio. This year, I never came out of this and went, oh, it's X, horse Y. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the end, I went with a horse that I think has the least amount of question marks. I went number 1, Forever Young, to win this thing. I went back and watched the Kentucky Derby several times. I'm telling you what, that was a tremendous performance. And I think Forever Young would have won the Kentucky Derby if not for Sierra Leone. I think when you go back and watch it, with unbiased eyes, just studying, it's like, man, he should have won that race. And dude, he had no business being in that race after the start, after how far he got behind, after the kickback he took, and they were saying he couldn't take any, or that he passed all those. When he turns for home, it's like, oh my God, he's going to win. There's no doubt. And then you're like, oh yeah, I remember this big lunk of a horse just slammed him the whole stretch. So look, I loved also his prep race for this. He came back looking just as good as ever. I just think, I know he's going to show up and run his race. Now, is that race going to be good enough to win? I think it's questionable. I think it's questionable for all of them, though. I have the most confidence for everyone who's going to show up and run his race. We know he can handle the dirt. We know he can handle a variety of tracks. He's ran everywhere and been fine. I think Forever Young's the horse to beat.
I love it. I think that's a great pick. I've got him in my top 4. I think I even have him top 3 even. But listen, the more I looked at this race, the more I handicapped it, the more I was like, listen, he's telling you, like, and I'll tell you in a second. He's telling you who to pick. Like, it's not like, stop overthinking it, you dummy. It's City of Troy. The best trainer in the whole world is picking to run this horse in this race versus the race. Well, what is it? The race prior, in the turf. Like, and he knows more than anybody in this chat, anybody here, any more than John White, whoever that knows about horse racing, Aiden O'Brien. And he's opting to run this horse here versus run this horse in the turf. And they've wanted to do this from the start. Like, it's not like this is just like, hey, let's try this now. It's like, no, like, or hey, this horse has been struggling on turf, let's run him on the dirt. No, this has been the plan all along. He's sired by Justify. He's out of the Galileo mare. They've wanted to run him here from start. And it's just like, dude, the best trainer in the world decided to run this horse on the dirt in the Breeders' Cup Classic. How am I to sit here to say, I don't think he'll like it? Well, I mean, that might happen, right? But I'm going to trust the trainer. And from all I've seen, his workouts, on dirt, the works on dirt, him in the mornings, he looks like a fit horse. From a numbers perspective, I know it was on turf, but he's the threat. If he can handle that, and if he gets out to the lead, they're gonna have to. He's gonna be tough. So I'm going City of Troy, and I'll tell you this: going into it, I did not expect myself to pick City of Troy.
Yeah, I thought about it for a minute, and I just couldn't quite get there. If he was in the turf, he would be a single. I will tell you that. But it was just a little bit of a worry for me, the dirt thing, and the chat's blowing up about it. And the more you kind of study it, you do kind of see that they're trying to increase the stud value of this horse by getting a dirt win. The thing that almost convinced me to do it, and it's because of John White, and it's something that I had been told very early on when we first started this website. If you try to run a turf horse on the dirt, their first start on the dirt is usually their best. And that it's like, he's right. I've heard that. That was a great reminder from John. That might be enough. He may get on that surface and be okay once, So, but at the end of the day, I was pretty comfortable with Forever Young because I think Forever Young might just be better than him anyway. I really am that high on him after what he did in the Kentucky Derby. So that's why I just kept going back to it and said, you know what? Forever Young might just be better anyway.
I mean, it's the chat is cracking me up, honestly. How much they are believe they know more than City of Troy's owners and trainer. But no, I mean, it's fair that it's obviously the breeding is an aspect to that, but it's also what is the turf, a $5 million race? I mean, they're just bypassing $5 million purse for the 7. I mean, it just, to me, I don't think they're running him being like, well, I don't think he'll like it, but maybe he will, and it'll help his value. I think they truly believe they can win the race with him.
I would venture to say if City of Troy was 10-1, the chat would bet him. I think the biggest problem people have is he's going to be the favorite and he's never touched the dirt. Yeah. And that's fair enough. That went into mine as well. It's like, I don't know that I want to take that short of a price on him. And so that's okay. That's okay to say. And I agree with it. Aiden O'Brien's been close in this race before. So that's the other thing. Like, he's been close to winning this race. He almost won it the year Mucho Macho Man won it. He was right there with the horse. He's been close. So it's not like he has no idea what he's doing either. I tend to side with what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, for me, it's like for at least my top pick of the race. Now, like, let's be fair, I'm playing multiple. I'm playing Fierceness. I'm playing Forever Young. Using Ushba, like, there's a lot of angles I'm taking here versus but for this purpose, I am my top pick, who I think is the best chance to win the race, regardless of odds, is City of Troy, and I completely understand and would like respect the fact it's like, hey, if he's 5-2 and the horse has never tried the dirt ever, then would you rather take that or take Forever Young at 6-1? Well, it's like, well, there's the value. So I get it, but I just believe, and and I agree. You go look at the pictures, you see him on the track. We were just talking about this earlier today with John. He looks more like Galileo than he does Justify. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you could argue too that hey, maybe but I mean, Justify could run on anything, and you still don't know. Like you just don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how do you don't know that he won't like dirt? Like there's so many horses that you like. Oh, that horse will never, touch the. You look at like next in the race, they thought he was a turf horse.
Yep.
And now look at him on dirt.
Yep. Well, the other thing of it is, Aiden O'Brien's been talking about running this horse on the dirt for over a year now. You can go back in YouTube and watch an interview with Aiden O'Brien when this horse was 2 years old, and he was saying we're going to run him in the Kentucky Derby, and stuff like that. Then they're going to run him in the Travers, and they never did it. But this is not a oh hell let's just try it thing. I mean this has been in the works, and he said from before this horse ever had, I mean, he had stud value when he won those 2-year-old races, but before his stud value was ever crazy, he kept saying he is going to run on the dirt. So I don't think he will just not show up at all. I think he will run okay. And again, like I said at the first, my biggest problem is sometimes when you change a horse, change the preferred surface, they still run all right on it, but they just that last little bit that they need, that last little acceleration, they don't have it quite as much.
Yeah, this is the worst comment of the day so far.
Huh.
Interesting.
I haven't really looked it up, but I mean, he's been pretty good, I think.
He's been like I mean, there's how many Justify horses have just been unbelievable.
I couldn't give you a stat, but I can remember a lot of Justify horses being fine. Yeah.
And by the way, like Justify stud fee, I mean, he's a private stud, so like they can kind of dictate how they want to value it. But when we went and met him earlier this spring, he was, what was it, 200?
I think he's 250 maybe. It was the highest one in North America.
Dude, if he were to win this with City of Troy, his stud value will just go. He'll go 3+.
Mm-hmm.
And he has one in what's the other one? Is it? We were talking to John about it. Is it the Distaff? Which horse? He's got another one. Another Justify. He's got another one of the main ones. In one of these big races, but it's just like the dude is just firing runners left and right. He had 3 Breeders' Cup winners last year in his first year.
Yeah. So I'm looking at his leading progeny. It looks like most of them are dirt horses. There's let's see, Valentine Candy, Just Steel, Just FYI, Just a Touch. These are all dirt horses, but then there's some turf horses as well on here. So he's kind of had a little bit of everything. This is crazy to look at this. And look, the thing about Justify, he was by Scat Daddy, and that's a kind of a turfy, Scat Daddy could kind of do either one as well, but he was turfy at times.
There you go, Kevin. 3rd time's a charm. 4th time's a charm, actually. Yeah, he can. I just feel like it's all about who he's breeding to as well. Like I think he can he's just an ultimate sire because he can breed anyone to him and create that horse.
Yeah.
But no, listen. Here's what I'll end it with this. I just don't leave off City of Troy because of his price. Like whether you're playing multis or whatever, I would I get it. The price, you might want to play him at 10-1. Which I think is still that's an argument for another day. Like, I mean, if you'd play him at 10-1, so that means you think he could win. So if you think he can win, play him on your tickets. That would be my advice. I just think if regardless of the price, if you do believe he can win. Now, if you totally believe he can't, like I don't care if he's 5-1, I don't care if he's 20-1, I don't care if he's 3-5. I'm not playing him. Right? If that's the case, then that's great. But if you still think if the price is the ultimate dictator for you, then I would ask you at least to consider making sure you throw on a ticket just in case.
Yep. I don't disagree.
All right, let's again, guys. We're covering the classic and the juvenile here. We will go to 2 more races, so hit that up in the chat. Which 2 races you want us to go to after we do the juvenile? We'll get to that. Let me flip on over here to Friday. So we'll go back 1 race to the juvenile, which is a hell of a race. I have a feeling that the chat might like this favorite a little more. This is race number 9 on Friday at Del Mar. This is the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Grade 1, $2 million, 1/116 miles. For 2-year-olds, of course, field males, field of 10 lines up here, and you got 5-2, very similar as far as the odds go in the last one. 5-2 on East Avenue on the inside, Chancellor McPatrick for Chad Brown, 3-1 on the outside. Those seem to be the 2 clear horses of the race. And then really, if you're going against them, you got several options across the board, including gaming for Bob Baffert. Bob Baffert's got 3 in the race at 8-1. He is the lowest priced of the 3. All right. I'll tell you this. The chat with John White got me concerned by playing against East Avenue.
Well, I mean, look, from a hype standpoint, East Avenue has a massive amount of hype. So I definitely think they expect this horse to show up and run huge. I had one friend text me saying it's one of the best horses, an exercise rider that exercising's ever been on. Magic texted me yesterday, and he said 2 or 3 people have told me, East Avenue is the best looking horse at Del Mar. And he wasn't just talking about just 2-year-olds, all of them. He's the best looking horse of the Breeders' Cup. All that means nothing when the gates open, but it does tell you that, this horse is pretty darn good. So, but the other flip side of this is a very, very stout group this year. We can be very excited to see a horse like Chancellor McPatrick, Citizen Bull, Jonathan's Way. Those are not gaming. Those are nice horses. So you're going to have to be really good to win it. You're going to have to run really good to win it. I'm on East Avenue, not because of the hype. I want to be clear. I don't care about that. I'm on East Avenue because I just haven't seen any reason not to be. His 2 races have been flawless. And as a guy that's really gotten into studying workout patterns, which you can see on the betting Bible, this horse is flawless in the mornings. What he does and how they build him up for races and how he does exactly what they want him to do is incredible.
He is like, let's put it this way. If he was trained, and I'm definitely no disrespect to Walsh, but say he was trained by Bob Baffert and he was the exact same horse. Everything is exactly the same, but he was trained by Bob Baffert. Is he like 6-5 here?
Oh, probably. Yeah. I think that's probably true. We'd be saying, people would be saying, it's American Pharaoh again,
Right. Yeah.
Which is, quite honestly, that's what he's reminded me of after 2 races. Not and added by no way, shape, or form am I saying he's going to be that good. I'm just saying the way he goes about his business reminds me a lot of American Pharaoh. I think he is the type that can get the lead if nobody's out there. I don't think he needs the lead at all. He's very smart. You can tell he kind of just does what they ask him to do. So in that regard, yeah, I think everybody would be hyping him up to be the next one. But, at the end of the day, Walsh is a very good trainer, but Walsh isn't a guy that you think about when you think of 2-year-olds racing on the dirt in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
So let's look at the other thread. Well, there's multiples, but the other main thread, and that's the horse all the way to the outside, and that's Chancellor McPatrick for Chad Brown, and this horse is undefeated as well, but winning the exact opposite way as East Avenue, where East Avenue kind of goes to the front, never looks back. This horse only goes to the back and only looks forward, and then has to run him down late. And so far, 3 for 3 doing that. Now stretching out. Chad Brown thinks that's going to make the horse even better, make the horse be a little more forwardly placed. That's his words, not mine. His horse, again, rattled off back-to-back Grade 1 wins. Here we are. The Del Mar surface is tricky with a horse like this because we know it's hard to win from going from far back at Del Mar. And 2, you've got, like we've said this multiple times, is like he's going to have to continue to outrun these and the talent gets better and better in these races to outrun these good horses.
Well, again, you never know about pace, but this is definitely one on paper that looks like it could set up for him. So he could kind of get the trip, not the trip, at the pace that he needs to where someone might come back to him. So that's good thing number one. And I think good thing number two is in his races so far, he hasn't really needed them to slow down up front to win. He's been in a race or two for sure where they've kind of slowed up, or maybe they slowed down because they just weren't good enough. But he's really shown that he's got a great turn of foot. We talked about it on the show with John, and we've talked about it on this show before, and I've talked about it on videos before. This horse works out like a horse that isn't going to be last. But the problem is he's looked that way in each of his 3 starts. I've said the way he's working, I think he's coming out of that gate and getting in middle of the pack, and he just doesn't do it. And again, that is going to be the biggest fear for him from now until the end of his career. If he's just a horse that's what he likes to do, and he's going to drop from the back, as the races get tougher and the horses get better, it's always going to be a worry.
It's going to be a worry until, like, I feel like it's one of those things that until it happens, you're going to just be like, well, I guess he can do it. But he's going to run, like you say, this time if he's going to have to run down a horse like East Avenue. It's not a horse he's ran down before, right? He did run down Ferocious 2 back in the Hopeful, and East Avenue handled him just fine last out. That tells you something, right? Because it's like, okay, well, you ran down Ferocious. East Avenue wanted nothing to do with that horse that day. And so kind of maybe that shows you a little bit of the class hike that he's going to see here trying to run down a horse like East Avenue. But it's hard you can't shit all over a horse that has done nothing but win,
Yep.
I think you got to be careful with that. Yes, it might be up against him here. I personally don't love the way it sits, but you just don't want to, a horse that just rattled off 3 in a row and has done it very nicely. Let's talk about Ferocious for a second, because he's one that, has been like the hyped up horse. Although he's lost his last 2, he's been the favorite of the last 2 races as well. This is a horse, I think, I don't know if it's the $1 million, 3 purchase price or what, but people really, really want to love this horse. And he's ran second back-to-back times, but guess who he got beat by? The 2 favorites of this race. Is there any way that Ferocious can turn the tables on not 1, but 2 of them?
I wish, because I do. Well, I shouldn't say I wish. I'm not going to play him to win, but I wish he kind of, I don't know, would kind of get closer maybe this time. I mean, I really have liked this horse from the start. It's a double-edged sword, because it's like, hey, he's running really well. He's just got beat by really good horses, but the really good horses are right here in the race. So it's like, how do you turn the tables? The race last time out at Keeneland, he was kind of buried inside. The problem is he got beat by 6 lengths almost. So I think it was 5 3/4. Well, it's going to be hard to make up 5 3/4. Now, maybe East Avenue doesn't run well or gets caught up in a pace duel, and maybe he gets a better, Ferocious gets a better trip and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, I don't know that he can turn the tables on in this race.
Well, I'll go to my pick here, and the horse that I think drew the best out of anybody in the race, because, whether it be Chancer doing True Wide and East Avenue, maybe you were worried about the rail draw and the speed kind of being shuffled inside there and other speed kind of to his outside. I think the 7 Gaming is going to sit the best trip out of anybody in the race. Bob Baffert, has this horse coming in and, missed that last race, which is always a concern, and that's the question mark of the race. But I think had he ran that, and again, that's like saying, like, hey, if this horse was faster, he would win all of them. But if this horse would have ran in the next, say would have ran the next race and won, this horse is like, 3-1 with Chancer and Patrick, so you're getting more value here because of that kind of question mark. But man, the 2 races I've seen of him, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, this horse looks like his horse. This horse looks like, I always say, and it's part of the trends that you got to, in this kind of race, you got to bet the horse that you think is like the class of the horse that you think is going to be in the Derby, that kind of horse, not the one that's good now, but the one you think is going to be really good down the road. And Gaming just feels like a horse, out of or sired by Game Winner, and who won this race as well. But just a horse that you think is going to evolve into that kind, and it just feels like that is this kind of horse. I love the draw for him, and not just that. I love the getaway car. His stablemate is drawing right to the inside or outside of East Avenue. I don't know if he's fast enough to go with him early, but I think he's going to try. Bob Baffert's going to be like, "Listen, we're going with getaway car. Put the pressure on East Avenue." And I think Gaming is going to sit just an unbelievably good trip.
No, I totally agree. I think Gaming is a very, very nice horse. And, again, you don't have to tell the story over and over, but a horse we were on from the very beginning and has been really good to me. I know the last race at Del Mar with Gaming was a lot of fun, but at the end of the day, there is one big negative with Gaming, and he didn't run in the final prep. And so this is going to be his first start around 2 turns, and it's going to happen in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That's not a positive. There's no way to spin that as a positive.
No.
So that's the problem with him. But the positive, certainly, he has a lot of talent and he should be very tactical, sit the trip you want. It's just going to be a matter of did that, not running 2 turns, in the American Pharoah and skipping that race, is that going to come back to bite him in this spot? Down the road, that doesn't matter. But in a race like this, would have loved to have seen him have that race under his belt. So that's kind of why you're getting the price I think you're going to get on him. You have that question mark with him where this is a race this is a race here where the favorites don't have a lot of question marks. You kind of know what they are up to this point, where Gaming does have that one big question mark.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I like his stablemate to his inside Citizen Bull quite a bit too, because I do think the race, he's coming into it the right way. Just very similar pattern, only he ran in the American Pharoah and one didn't. But what happened in the Futurity? Well, he, Gaming kind of shit all over him there, and kind of. And so I love the fact that he's won it in multiple ways too. He won Gate to Wire on his debut, the one you mentioned that we, and then also after that, it's like, hey, he was off the lead, like, nope, he just cruised on by him. Now, so I like that he's been shown that he's versatile. I think both the 6 and 7 are live if this thing it kind of sets up like I believe it will. So I just like Gaming more because I believe we saw them head to head, right?
Yep.
And so I'm going to go that angle. I don't know that we'll get 8-1. I think maybe more like 5-ish, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But the two main ones right here will take a bunch of money.
Yeah, I agree. I bet Gaming is the third choice. I would have made him more. I would have flipped him in Ferocious. Put Gaming at 6-1, Ferocious at 8-1. That's probably how I see it. But look, I'm not very good at making a morning line. I've never made one, and I can't guess odds, so whatever. But I do think Gaming third or fourth choice is probably what you're going to see. And again, if he would have ran in the American Pharoah and won, I think we both probably think he would have, he probably would be the second choice in the race.
Now we better talk about one more because I have, there's a lot of chat about him, and obviously he's 9-2 for a reason. That's the 5 Jonathan's Way, another undefeated. This race, I think what did I say? Like 5 of the 10 horses in this race are undefeated.
Yeah.
Jonathan's Way is one of those, and has done nothing wrong, right? He won his debut by Daylight, and then he came and won the Iroquois Grade 3 as a favorite by Daylight. One time off, like another horse is versatile, won it from coming way off on his debut, and the Iroquois he went Gate to Wire. Rosario back aboard, stretching another one, obviously stretching out for the first time here at the mile 16th. But Jonathan's Way, is this a horse that has piqued any of your interest?
Oh, for sure. I really like Jonathan's Way. It's one of those situations in this race. You got to just make a decision. You can't play all of them. You got to make the decision on which one you want to cut. He was kind of the one that I cut. You don't feel good about it. Like in a perfect world, you'd love to play him as well because this horse has a ton of talent, and he is. I thought the last race, this is going to be really, really tough between him and Owen Almighty, and what a race it's going to be. It wasn't a race at all. He killed that horse, and Owen Almighty's damn good, right?
Yeah.
And Jonathan's Way just destroyed him. So it does get a little tougher again. He's got to stretch out. I think I don't think it's impossible, but I think it's questionable. and it was just one that I at the end of the day, I just couldn't include him. But man, he's awfully good. He's not gonna be shocking me at all if he wins, and I certainly am not going to talk anybody off of him.
All right, so your top pick is put a bow on this thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go East Avenue. He's just been really, really flawless, so I'm going to go East Avenue.
Give me number 7, Gaming. I think this is the value of the race, and I just think this is going to set up perfectly for Gaming. We'll find out how good he is, or maybe even more how ready he is for this race after that last miss. But I do believe from a value perspective, give me that. East Avenue scares the hell out of me. So I will be using East Avenue everywhere as well. All right. I saw the first one I saw was the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf. So I'm going to flip back over to that.
Okay.
So that sounds like a good one to me.
Yeah.
Good betting race. And someone give me another one while we're doing this one. Flip this over. So we'll go back to Saturday now, guys. This is race 9, the Maker's Mark. It's going to follow right after the Classic, the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. It's grade 1 worth $2 million, going 1 3/8 miles on the turf for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. You got a field of 13 lines up here, Halterman, and the worst favorite of the Breeders' Cup, in my opinion, is 5-2 Warlike Goddess. I mean, I guess, right? The issue is a lot of horses, a couple of them that would have been heavy favorites in here have opted to run in the turf. 4-1 on Cinderella's Dream, which I imagine probably go off as a favorite, and Content at 6-1. What do you think?
Boy, oh boy. Sometimes this race is one of the best, if not the best, of the whole Breeders' Cup. And you go, good Lord, I cannot wait to watch this horse versus this horse. Or I cannot wait to see horse X versus horse Y. And then here's an American horse, and you go deep and deep and deep. I don't think this race is very good this year from a talent standpoint. Not to say it's a Breeders' Cup race. I mean, obviously it's good, but from the standards of what was set, from the prior races that we've seen, I don't think this one's quite as good. I think it's going to be an upset. I went number 2 Full Count Felicia on top, 12-1 on the morning line. I think she's loose. I think she is the lone speed in the race. She is coming in extremely sharp. Her last race was fantastic and gets Irad aboard. I'm going upset. I'm going price hunting. I don't blame anybody for taking like a Cinderella's Dream. That's a good horse. Certainly can win. Content, a good horse. Myra, even pretty good horse. But I think Full Count Felicia is just as good. And I think she's going to be a very good price.
There is no way that, there could be a horse could be coming into this race sharper than Full Count Felicia, right? Just those last 2 efforts have been especially considering how up and down she has been her whole career.
Mm-hmm.
Those last 2 though, man, she is brought her game to another level. Now the concern is what, those are races out, again, those are bigger races in Woodbine, of course, with Moira being in there, which is in this race as well. But what will she do in this kind of race? Can she handle the Breeders' Cup? Can she handle the international flavor? We'll find out. I don't hate it though. You're getting 12-1 on her here. I think this is a race that you're right. It's one of those races year in and year out that are sometimes unbelievably awesome, and other times that it's it's maybe not the best. This feels like maybe that this year, but I do think for that reason, I kind of look at it a different reason. I think that the 3 Cinderella's Dream is just going to be better than the rest. And listen, she's come over here for Appleby this year, and Appleby is we've had this conversation on the show a lot where it's hey, he's not winning as much because he's bringing more over, right? And Cinderella's Dream has been one of the few that has not lost this year when bringing over, and she's 2 for 2 at of course 1 at Belmont Aqueduct and then Saratoga. It just has kind of done it the right way, right? Nothing that's going to wow you, nothing that's going to be unbelievably great, she's just running off the screen, but she looks professional doing it. And to me, I think he's got her setting up, Buick back aboard here as well. I think the way he's ran her this year was with all eyes on this race, and I do expect her to run her career best here on Saturday.
Yep. Like I said, I think that's a good pick. You said one thing that kind of made me not want to play her at what I think this horse might be favored, to be honest. I don't think Warlike Goddess is going to be the favorite, but that's subject for another day. Maybe when we're live, we can talk about it more when we actually see what the odds are going to be.
First click when Cinderella's Dreams like 5-2. Yeah.
I feel like that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you said it. I like her, but she wasn't amazing. And I just like every race I went, yeah, she's really good, but she's not. I just didn't see like that burst that I think it might take to win a race like this. But at the end of the day, maybe this year it won't, because this field isn't just amazing.
I mean, I don't understand how the thought process on making Warlike Goddess the favorite here.
No,
it makes no sense. It's almost like he forgot. It was like, I'll just know the name and I'll just put her as the favorite,
Yeah.
Because like this is a horse that's won once in over a year, and it's crazy that she's 5-2 and say the 2 is 12-1. Like, I'm not saying she should be the favorite, but as far as the full count Felicia, but you have to think, okay, here's an Appleby horse who's rattled off 2 wins in a row here in the United States. It's Appleby, who's won 10 of 20 starts in the Breeders' Cup, probably going to be the favorite. But yeah, that's probably a subject we can talk about on Saturday when we're waiting for this race to run. But anyone else? Give me a big price here that you're interested in. I know you got your favorite at 12-1, or your winner at 12-1, but anyone else that you're at least interested in?
Yeah, obviously 12-1 top choice. So that's going to be, the big value that I'm going to talk about. I think the 12 Soprano at 20-1 makes a little bit of sense as well. The horse came over here, got a start at Keeneland in the QE2 Cup, and then had 2 local works, one at Keeneland and then one at Del Mar, local as in United States workouts. I don't know. I kind of like that. I kind of felt like when I looked at Soprano and her past performances, I kind of said to myself, they came over here with a plan to kind of get this horse accustomed and ready and have her ready to run her biggest race at the Breeders' Cup. So Soprano at 20-1, I got a lot of interest in. I think that's one that if you're looking for a long shot, that one makes sense. And again, as you get into kind of work patterns and how horses, again, when you're looking at workouts, I'm not really looking at how they look or times or anything like that. I'm looking at patterns. How are they building them up? Are they coming into the race getting built up to it? This horse kind of seems like they had a specific plan. They've executed it. And now we might see the horse kind of outrun the odds.
Yeah, I like the Soprano quite a bit here as well. Guys, first one I see, because I see it like I've lost the next race. First one I see next race is what we'll do.
Okay.
By the way, I've got it on. Magic Mike Show is wearing costumes, by the way, on their feed.
That's par for the course. Here, I'll go look it up.
I have it on. Magic Mike Show is live right now, so we'll wrap this up. So Breeders' Cup Mile, I got you. Let me pull it up.
All right.
Looks like we got Sully and a giraffe, maybe. I guess this is a regular giraffe. Sully and a giraffe. So I was going to ask you to do it, but I knew you'd say no. So
right, no.
Let's see. Let me pull up the mile. Any guesses? I'll let you guess in the chat. Guess what my 2 little boys are this year.
They look hilarious. I've seen that costume on Magic, but
I think he did it with his son one year. I want to say
I've never seen Samich as a giraffe. That's great.
I feel like Samich, like, he's like, son of a bitch, really? Like, okay.
Well, I'm pretty sure Magic wears that to the grocery store. What he's got on, just definitely.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right, let's go to. That's not the race. Race 11.
I love that it's the Breeders' Cup show they're doing, and they're dressed like.
Well, hey, it's Halloween. All right, race number 11 on Saturday. It's the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile. Grade 1, $2 million, 1 mile on the turf. You got a field of 12 lining up here. Halterman 7-2 on Notable Speech for Appleby and Buick, who, by the way, have never lost this race, which is a fun fact. 9-2 on Johannes, 6-1 on Carl Spackler. Where are you going here, man?
Yeah, great race. Another one that this one more so than the juvenile filly and mare turf. I feel like there's more star power in this race, a little bit more living up to what this has been in the past. Look, I think you need to go fairly deep, in some of the races around this. So at the end of the day, in this late pick 5, I don't think there was a race where you really feel great about a single. But I think Notable Speech might be the horse you can get away with. I just think at the end of the day, Notable Speech is just a little bit better than the rest of the main, heavy hitters in here. And I think might just be a little bit more classy, and I think they're going to get it done. I went number 6, Notable Speech on top. But boy, if you're going to try, the 1, the 4, the 7, even Carl Spackler, the 12, I'm not going to shake my head and say, no, that's not a good idea. I mean, this is a tough race.
Yeah, listen, Appleby, for whatever reason, just hones in on this one. He's never lost. He's won the last 3 starters. Space Blues. Didn't you have Space Blues that year? I think you picked
absolutely.
Space Blues. I love that horse.
Yeah.
Modern Games, of course, and Master of the Seas last year. In fact, it's been Godolphin, Buick, Appleby the last 3 years with those 3. So he only brought 1 in for this one. That's Notable Speech. I honestly liked this horse coming in. When he only entered the 1, I thought, okay, this is the one I want for this race. And so I think it's a better race than the filly and mare that we just talked about. I get that last race was not awesome. And this has been a horse that's kind of has a little bit of fierceness syndrome in him, where he runs like a big one and then he runs a kind of a dud. He's kind of due for a big one. So he's won. This is a Guinness winner. Okay, let's like make sure we remember this. This is like the Guinness winner, the Sussex winner. This is a horse that's won multiple Group 1 races this year. I get those. There's a couple in there that are like, not the greatest efforts there, especially as a favorite back at Ascot. But from a top end talent level, I think Notable Speech is just bounds above everyone else in here.
Yeah, you talked me into that. Well, you didn't talk me into it, but you were talking that one up from the beginning, and I kind of was we'll see. And like I said, watch replays, handicap, and I just kept coming back to Notable Speech.
Yeah, this is a hell of a race. Now, you have how much thought or belief do you have in Carl Spackler? This has been a horse that has definitely turned the corner this year and has turned into quite a good turf runner for Chad Brown. But you're getting 6-1. If you don't like Notable Speech, I'm not saying you don't, but if you don't like him, Carl Spackler could be a nice option here.
Yeah, if that horse wins, I'll probably throw up because I love Carl Spackler, and you can just go watch any of the last 3 months of our stuff when we talk about him. He's become a beast, and I love everything he's doing. I hate the draw, and at the end of the day, I'm not sure he's quite up to this level. I think he can hit the board. I think he'll run well. I'm just not sure he's good enough to win, but I love him. I damn near put him on top, but at the end of the day, I just kept rounding back to, it's like, no, I think a couple of the international horses are just a little bit better than him.
Yeah, honestly, maybe we'll see. I went pretty chalky in this one, really. Just from like all around. I just feel like the cream's going to rise a little bit on this one. It just some of these better ones are feel like they're pretty clear. The one horse that I am interested in that I didn't use is the Aiden O'Brien here. Is the Diego Velasquez. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I used Diego. It was like my 4th horse on, I think. I do really like that horse. He is a classy individual. I don't know that it's in like the best form right now, but could jump up and win. I like him as well. It is one of those races, like you said, like say we were talking about the distaff and you started going down and listing 3 or 4 horses. I would easily say, if it's not Torpedo Anna or Awesome Result, I don't care about him. Where here, it's like people maybe listen and go, well, how do you like this horse? You said you're not going to use him, or you said he's 4th or 5th. Well, that's really good in this race. It's so deep and talented that, my horse I like 5th best could probably go win, 3 or 4 grade 1s in the United States or something like that. So yeah, it's a very deep race.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. And listen, like you said when we started it, it's like if let's just say you're playing the pick 5, right? For this purpose, it kicks off with the classic, okay? And then you get the Philly Mare Turf, which you just talked about. That one's tough. The Breeders' Cup Sprint, tough. The mile, and then the dirt mile. Like, there's only a few spots that you could have an opportunity, you feel like, to make a single. And I just, notable speech is right for me, is right up there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just a tough sequence, and you're going to have to make some accommodations. Maybe you don't feel great about notable speech, but like, who do you feel great about singling in that sequence?
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, you're going to have to make a hard choice. There's not, a Cogburn or a Torpedo Anna or Lake Victoria, or where it's like, okay, I can build around them. Here, it's like, I mean, you're gonna have to build around somebody, and you're just gonna have to make that choice. Because the other problem is, like, sometimes when the sequence sets up like this, you look at it and go, well, I can just get away with 2 or 3 horses in each race, kind of keep the ticket costs low and hope my handicapping's like spot on. Here, there's going to be races where you're wanting to go a lot deeper than that, and that's what really can cause a big time, pick 5, just a big boom and a huge payout when it sets up like that. And that's what we have to end the thing. Some of the other pick 5s on the Breeders' Cup 2-day cards are, you could kind of maybe see maybe you could get 1,000, 2,000 on them. This one is one where I think it's going to blow up.
I mean, like, can you single anyone in the classic? I mean,
I can't.
At least you have. I could see how somebody would, because it's like, these are the best horses.
Yep.
If you want to single City of Troy, if you want to single Forever Young, if you want to single, Fierceness or whatever, like, I get it. Although I wouldn't. Certainly can't single someone here in the Philly Mare. The Breeders' Cup Sprint, I mean, good luck. Good luck even finding a winner, let alone singling them. In my opinion, it's a tough race. Tough race. We just talked about the mile. I mean, again, notable speech. And then with the Big S Fans Dirt Mile, I mean, again, it's very similar to the Sprint. It's not necessarily the worst horses in the race, but it's also like, who would you have the stones to single there?
That race to me is the hardest one of the whole thing. I think the dirt mile we're talking about. The pace looks like it could be just nutty. And it's just like you have the horses, like, I'm with you. Like, there's good horses in the race, but they're all kind of the second fiddle types, right?
Yeah.
It's like, they're not really quote unquote second string horses, but they are in terms of Breeders' Cup racing. Yeah. So then it's like, oh boy, I mean, and there's 14 of them in there as well. So it's a challenge.
So to me, it comes down to trying to figure out if you're going to single, whether it be notable speech or, City of Troy in my world, but I don't feel good about doing City of Troy. So in I'm going notable. So that's just where I'm at. But I think you have to take a shot, whether it be in whichever race. But it's the toughest sequence for sure of the 2 days, those last 5. But it does make it fun because the classic doesn't end things, and you could hit the classic and be live, but you got several more to go. So surviving the classic is just one step of that. So
the first step.
one of 5, right? I got the classic winner, and then you go miss the last 4, right? So it could be that kind of day. But there you go, guys. That is our look at, again, we have all 14 races covered in the Breeders' Cup Betting Bible, which is available right now at racingdudes.com. It is 38 pages in total, with the 14 trends that you get for free included with that. You have that as well as our top 4 picks for every single race, as well as John White's picks for every single race. John White has been part of this now as well. So you get John White's top 4 picks for Friday and Saturdays. You can just go to racingdudes.com, click that Get Racing Dudes Premium button right there, and just scroll on down. You can add that. If you are a premium subscriber, any of these packages here, $70 is on the low end. You do get that for free as well. So make sure you guys head on over to racingdudes.com to get all our insights and how we're playing every single race. It's just every single thing we're doing Here, let me pull up a preview here on. Yeah, so you can kind of get a look here. This is kind of one of our updated looks of it. You can see how the bet each of us are making. How we're playing each and every race. You can see how the bankrolls that we believe we're going to play here. The speed, the pace figures, everything, workout analysis, it's all included there. Halterman his picks are on the left, mine are on the right. And then we got the top four here. You can see down here below. That's going to kind of, John White's going to be added in there as well. So it's got a little bit of everything for everybody that we wanted to bring back. And we're pretty excited about this year. When we were working on this thing, we were pretty excited at how this thing has turned out.
It's my favorite thing we've ever done. I'm always our harshest critic. I always we do something I hate it, and, this time when I got it done and I put it on, I was like 1 a.m. Wednesday. I finally got done and sent it to you. And I thought to myself that finally I'm sending something over there to get edited and posted that I really, really like a lot. So it's my favorite thing. We put a ton of work into it. And I think things like, we improved it a lot that last time at Keeneland when we did it. But then getting a guy like John just volunteered to, hey, I'll put my picks in there. I was like, man, that just puts it over the top. And you got, when you think about it, you got a guy that works at FanDuel on there, right? You got a racing Hall of Famer in John White. I mean, just those two columns alone, pretty damn cool. And then you got all the other analysis in there as well. So I couldn't be more proud of it. And hopefully everyone enjoys it. And hopefully, a few of us get some winners and people will be really happy.
Well, yeah. Now, like you said, we'll end it like we started it. Now we just got to get some winners home.
Yep.
And we've done the work. We've put in the effort. It's all been done. It's out there and ready. Now just got to run. So we'll find out how that goes. That is all the time we have, guys. Check us out at racingnews.com again for those premium selections and that betting Bible. Just click the Get Racing News Premium button at the menu at racingnews.com. Remember to go get that betting Bible. It is available for sale right now. It'll be available tomorrow and Saturday as well. So go to the website, racingnews.com. We're on Twitter at racing_news, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page or go to YouTube and search Racing Dudes, and you can hit that like, subscribe, notification. Speaking of which, we will be live Friday and Saturday for the Breeders' Cup here on this channel right here on YouTube. If you guys are watching us, make sure you do hit those likes and subscribe so you'll be alerted. Have you decided what time we will be live?
I think for tomorrow we should be on for all 5 of them. I think that makes sense. And then Saturday, I don't think we need to be live for all of them. I don't know yet on Saturday, but I think on Friday the last 5 races would make sense. Come on about 5 to 10 minutes before the juvenile turf sprint and carry it on through the juvenile turf.
Yeah, we'll make that announcement tomorrow while we're live, when we'll be live on Saturday. But the first race on the first Breeders' Cup race is race number 6 tomorrow, Friday at Del Mar. It's 2:45 Pacific time. So we'll be live starting about 2:40, 2:30, somewhere in there, Pacific. So you guys just make sure you be on the lookout for that. And then we'll be live. Halterman and I'll be live. I don't know if Samich and Magic might be joining us as well. So we'll have the whole cast here, and we'll be live until after dark here where we're at until these Breeders' Cups wrap up.
How nice is it going to be that the first Breeders' Cup race on Friday starts at 4:45 local?
I know. It's very weird because, again, this is the first time in 15 years I haven't been at the Breeders' Cup. And and obviously being out west for the Breeders' Cup when we're there, it's such different. It doesn't feel different to you because we're out there, you're local. But here it's like, well, this is weird. Like the day's over here and we're starting it off. I kind of love it, actually.
It is going to be nice. The first Breeders' Cup race on Saturday is 2:00. I mean, the early window of college football games will be over almost before the Breeders' Cup starts. I mean, that is, I can't wait for that. Cause usually, Breeders' Cup days, big days, I'm up at 5 a.m. having to get work done. And now it's like, oh, this is great. Are you kidding me? This is a normal day. So it's gonna be nice.
Well, it's always funny too, because when we are out west for the racing. It's like it feels like it starts early, and then the day gets over, you're like, shit, it's what are we gonna do now? Like the college football's just starting, or whatever. And so as far as like the night games and whatever, so it's like it's a different, but I'm kind of liking it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna give us more opportunity just to be here and to be present on the channel and kind of keep have the chat and the environment going. So again, it'll be fun. We'll be live tomorrow. Again, that will be the first race tomorrow is at 2:45 Pacific time, 2:45 out west, and we will be live about 10 minutes before that race kicks off, and we'll be live throughout all 5 of those races. So stay tuned and with us. Come join us, have some drinks with us, and we'll just be hanging out, hopefully hitting some winners. Guys, go check out Magic Mike's show. They're live right now doing their Breeders' Cup analysis for Saturday as well. So make sure you just stay right here, and you can see the other live going on right now, and just flip on over to see those idiots in their costumes, but probably providing some good content as well. All right, Halterman, any final thoughts?
Yeah, everybody, we'll see you guys tomorrow. I would say, hey, good luck. We'll see you guys next week, but that's not going to be the case because we're at home. So, we'll see you guys tomorrow. It should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to hang out with everybody, and hopefully we have a few winners and everybody's in a good mood.
Fingers crossed, guys. But yeah, we're pumped. We're pumped to be here tomorrow. Super fun. Remember, if you guys are looking to make some bets too, by the way, go to twinspires.com. We've got Racing Dudes promo code DUDES, DUDES. Receive that 100% deposit match on your first deposit. So if you're looking for a little extra to kind of get your bets going tomorrow, make sure you flip on over to twinspires.com. All right, guys. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. We'll be seeing you tomorrow, and good luck on the early card, and good luck at the Breeders' Cup.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.